So let's go through the scope of the actual standard. That standard has a few different parts. First, it starts with the scope, which is basically telling you what the standard encompasses, what the exemptions are. They'll give you specific definitions. There's a Table 1 for exposure control, and that's one way you protect your workers, or you could use what's called an alternative exposure control method, and then it'll give you your permissive exposure limits and a few other things that are said in the standard. So it's all embedded in there. Housekeeping, you've got a written exposure control plan and a few other entities that are helping out with the medical surveillance. So NIOSH, ACGIH, those are other entities that will help OSHA, and you'll see it in the standard, giving you not only the permissive exposure limit, the time-weighted average, but then with the medical surveillance too. You'll see some mention of that as well. If you are a workplace and over your 8-hour time-weighted average, your exposure is below the action item, which is 25, and that below 25 means that you don't really have enough exposure to silica to be dangerous to your workers, then that means you are exempt from this. If you are pouring concrete, or drilling small holes, those are some other activities that are exempt from this. So those low amounts, and that's what some people are really scared of with this new standard. They're scared that they had small amounts of exposure, but they're going to have to do so much compliance activity because of that small amount of exposure, and that's not the case. There is an exception for you, and that's in the scope and the application. Start with the specific exposure control method, which is found in what's called the Table 1. Table 1 is 18 specific tasks that if you do these tasks, and OSHA will describe exactly what you need to do to protect your workers if you're doing these tasks. In order for the control measures to take full effect for you and for your workers to protect them, you have to do certain things. You have to make sure that you're complying with all of the manufacturer's recommendations. You have to use the equipment as it is intended. It has to be kept up with. For instance, if there is a HEPA filter you're using as a vacuum, that vacuum bag needs to be cleaned sometime or other, or else it's not really doing its job. The hose needs to be in good condition, or else it's not doing its job. So those are the type of things that all those controls must be fully and properly implemented in order for you to say you are using that Table 1 control for your workers.